saw some resolutions that people made for the new year. I saw this online, and one person said, I'm going to wake up each morning with my mind stayed on Spirit. I'm going to walk and talk with my mind stayed on Spirit. And I thought, what wonderful, wonderful affirmations, resolutions. And I thought, could I do that? I'm not sure. I try. But because it's January, the beginning of the year, and we're talking about resolutions and a new year, and a new you, and a new life, and we certainly have a new church, I thought that since Christmas we've had 25 visitors, which is a lot of visitors. That's right. But it means that 25 people probably came in and wondered, what are they talking about? If they came from a traditional faith-based community. And so I thought that today, being the first of Sunday of the new year, for me, because we always do the White Stone that last Sunday, that I'd talk about the first principle, and that's why I put it on here. And I put it in a little bit different words. I said, God is all good and active in everything, everywhere. And we really say that every Sunday because we have that affirmation that we put up on the board. And it's, there is only one power and one presence in the universe, God the good. There's only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life and affairs. God the good, omnipotent. Those are affirmations that are used in unity churches. At some time, every unity church affirms that. And other New Thought churches affirm something very similar. One of my religious science friends says it a little differently. And I want to read it because I can't remember exactly how they say it. They say there is one principle and one presence in the universe. One cosmic reality, God, or whatever you want to call it. You know, all of creation, everything comes out of God. One source. God is. God is all there is. And from this one infinite source comes all of our spiritual and physical and emotional and our whole life. All love, all law, all energy, all harmony, all peace, all physical form, everything is contained within the one. And it's such a deep and profound concept. And so as we look at it, we can say, well, Beth, you've said that before. And what I'm inviting you to do today is not only let me say it to you, I'm inviting for you to find a way that you can say it to yourself and take that meaning deeper. Take it down in your heart. That there is only one. We're part of one. And when we're not in that thought of there is only one, we live in what we call duality. God and the devil. Heaven and good. What? Good and evil. Good and bad. God and everything else. And we don't believe that. We don't believe that there is any everything else. We believe that it is all God. That each one of us is a creation of God, made of God's substance, unique, individualized incarnations of spirit. incarnated spirit is the essence of every human being. And the essence is unique to each of us. And I know that there's someone out there thinking, those ISIS people aren't. Was there anybody, you don't have to raise your hand. Let me put it this way, is there anybody that you could think of that you would think was not an incarnation of God? Yeah, we all have that person that we've labeled bad. But the truth is, everything and everybody is God. Now, certainly these laws and principles are sometimes perverted by our human egos and our human minds. That truth that we are God, that our essence is of God, is something that is irrevocable. It cannot be given away. It can't be taken away. There's nothing that we can do to change it. There is no way that we can separate ourselves from God except where? Up here. Yeah. Yeah. Right up here. And so, you have this little piece on your connection card that you can tear off and take home. And I have 2 affirmations for this week. With God, all things are possible, because I believe that is true. And the second one is, God in me, as me, is me. Take a deep breath. Let's say that. God in me, as me, is me. Say it to yourself. Think about the change that happens as you walk out the door, with that being the rhythm that you walk to. God in me, God as me, God is me, God in me, God as me, God is me, God is me. How do you show up different in your life when you're showing up as God is me? You know, there are times when we say that I can't do something. But the truth is, we can do anything if we can remember God is me. I want to quote Charles Fillmore out of the book Talks on Truth. He said, I have proven to my own satisfaction that when Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you, he meant it literally, not figuratively. There is within everyone a place, a conscious sphere of mind, having all the attractions described or imagined as belonging to heaven. My most exalted ideas of the joys of heaven never anticipated the ecstatic thrill that suffuses my whole being when I rest in spirit at the center within. Charles Fillmore was one of our co-founders. You know, he had this practice of resting in God. It was a life practice. He called it going to headquarters. And he would sit down at the same time every night. When I was in ministerial school, his granddaughter, Rosemary Fillmore Ray, was still alive, and she was very active and very present. And she would talk about her granddaddy. And she loved to go with him. She said, because whenever he did a wedding or anything, they'd go to the where they would eat afterwards. And he was a vegetarian, and she got to eat his chicken. One of the things there's lots of stories about it. She would say, sometimes I didn't know if he was meditating or if he was sleeping. said, but there was an air, a presence, a feeling about her grandfather and her grandmother, Charles and Bertha Philbin. She said it just felt like you were there, that they knew God. And what Charles is saying is that you and I have that conscious sphere inside of us where we can know all the joys of heaven. And that's a wonderful thought. And so when you come here to Unity, what you're going to hear is that we do not believe in original sin. We believe in original blessing. We believe that people are born Christ in. You may have heard differently from some other pulpits. There was a brand new minister in a church who preached his first sermon, and when it was over, a church member and a guest were talking, and the guest said, well, why did y'all fire your other minister? And the member said, well, he always preached that we are sinners, and that if we didn't mend our ways, we were going to hell. Puzzled, the visitor said, but isn't that what this preacher said today? And the member said, yeah. He said, but the other minister, he acted like he was glad of it. So I'm happy that we don't believe in original sin, that we believe in original perfection, because that calls me up higher so that when I'm sitting there and judging something, oh my gosh, what am I judging? I'm judging myself. Because we're all one. We're all blessed. And if that oneness happens, and we know it, it changes our entire perception of life. There's a part of you that is eternal, never ending. There's a part of you that is God. There's a part of you that is the individualized expression of God. And there's nothing you can do to change that. Our bodies come in as little babies with that incarnated spirit. Our bodies grow into teenagers, and we've got that individualized spirit. We grow to adult, we've still got that same spirit. That part of us that is the real of us transcends the stuff we call skin, our body. That part that's real of us lives on, it never dies. That's the beauty of the New Thought teachings, the beauty of Unity teachings. Thomas Troward was a theologian and a philosopher in a way. And I want to read something that he wrote, and this was in the Dory Lectures. He says, but all the time, there's been no change in the universal spirit. The only change has been in the mental attitude of the individual. He has come into new thought, a clearer perception of God. He has faced the questions, what is God? Where is God? How does God work? And he has found the answer in the apostolic statement that God is over all, through all, and in all. Statement out of the Bible. Over all, through all, and in all. And he realizes that God is the root of the individual's own being, ever present in him, ever working through him, and universally present around him. And that means that everybody matters. Everybody matters. This is kind of illustrated this truth that we keep hidden inside. Is illustrated by a story that I read in the very first Chicken Soup for the Soul book. And it's the story of some monks in the 50s, 1950s. They had this huge clay Buddha at their monastery, and a road was coming through, and they had to relocate. And they had to relocate this Buddha. And so they brought out these big cranes to lift this big, huge, huge Buddha. And it was so heavy that it was straining the crane, and the way they had strapped it looked like the clay was going to crack. And it was starting to rain, and so the head monk said, "Put it down." And he covered it with tarps. And later that night, he went out to check on this clay Buddha that they had been worshiping and using as their point of reference for sitting in meditation and sitting in worship. Took his flashlight out, and he goes out and he looks, and he peeks under lifts up the tarp and shines his flashlight, and there was a crack, and in the crack he saw a gleam. A gleam. It was something shining. He thought, "What is this?" And so he was being curious. He went in and he thought, "I'll chisel off a little piece and see what." And he started chiseling, and as he got to where he could see, it was more and more gleaming light shining back at him as he shone his flashlight. And it took them days to chip all the clay off, but they had a solid golden Buddha. This was in 1957. It's a true story. And what historians believe is that hundreds of years before, the Burmese army was invading Thailand, and that the monks in the monasteries wanted to protect their treasure, their Buddha. And so they covered it with clay. And they theorized that what happened is that all of the monks were annihilated. And no one knew that underneath the clay was this beautiful golden Buddha. It had been hidden for centuries. And Jack Canfield writes, "Aren't we all like the clay Buddha, covered with a shell of hardness, created out of fear, and yet underneath each of us is a golden Buddha, a golden Christ, a golden essence, which is our real self. And somewhere along the way, we begin to cover up our golden essence, our natural self. We begin to cover it up with this happened and that happened and this fear and this emotion. And we forget who we truly are. We forget that we are one with God. God is all there is. And so I'm going to leave you with a passage out of a book, This Thing Called Life by Ernest Holmes. And I really love this. God is life, not some life, but all life. God is action, not some action, but all action. God is power, not some power, but all power. God is pure spirit, filling all space. This pure spirit animates our every act. There is a real you, which lives in a real God, and the two are one. And the two are one. And so I would invite you, if you begin this year, remembering our principle that there is only God. There's only God. And you are one. God is you. You are one with this infinite mind that we call God.